This week, I figured let's bring in some young blood to Mark It Down Live. We got a guy who won the 2013 NCAA Championship and also has already won on the PGA Tour last year at the Wells Fargo Championship. Max Homa, how's everything going there in Arizona?
It's all good. Your setup is a lot nicer than my setup, but yeah, it's all good. I've been staying at home quite a bit. The golf courses are still open, so I feel very, very lucky at this point.
Has it sunk in that you are a PGA Tour member for life, Max? For life, because you won a tournament on the tour.
Yeah, no, I don't think that ever really sinks in. I was just rewatching Rory McIlroy's first tour win at the Wells Fargo as well, or whatever, at Quail Hollow. And that was pretty cool to see my name scroll along the bottom along with the other winners of that event. So that part started to sink in a little bit. But, yeah, there's just so many cool things that come with winning on the PGA Tour, so it's hard to really grasp all of them.
Great place to win. Quail Hollow is a great course, and we're certainly going to touch on the golf a little bit later and everything about that. But you have really stayed busy during this time, busier than any PGA Tour pro I know, doing your podcast with Shane Bacon, Get a Grip. I love that. You got some watch parties going. You've got you're feeding people. I mean, you're doing all that stuff, which is really exciting. You're really giving a lot of people hope at this time, and I really appreciate that. You having fun with it?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm having fun with it. Obviously, I'm big in the believing in community feel, whether that's the PGA Tour, whether that's Phoenix, whether that's the country, and at this point, it's kind of the world thing. We're all kind of battling this obviously not so great time. I'd like to think I'm a pretty positive person. I don't have a lot going on. Shane and I enjoy doing our Get a Grip podcast, our little watch parties. So it's pretty easy for us. I know that people are really thirsty for entertainment and something to do. I know what we're doing isn't exactly ideal or the most fun, but there's just not a lot going around. So we've been trying to think of ideas. So we've been doing our best. I appreciate everybody that's been kind of tuning in. Didn't know if anybody would care, but honestly, if we could just entertain one or two people a week, that'd be great. Unfortunately, a lot of people have been taken to it. So we're just trying to, stay busy. It's helping us stay sane, helping me stay sane. Just trying to do what we can to keep things moving along here until we can get back to some live sports.
One thing you did, too, is throw a challenge out to people. I think it was $2,500 was the level that you would shave your arm hair. I'm a guy that has a lot of arm hair, and I will say,
hey, that's nice.
Well, this is actually trimmed pretty good. That's what I want to ask you. How's the maintenance going? Because I've been doing this about 2-3 years. I go with a 2 on the clipper. Are you going totally bald still? What are you doing? You got long sleeves on there.
Yeah, so the deal was I do $2,500 to shave my arms. Then someone made a much bigger donation and made a deal that I would shave my arms and my legs. I went full shave on both. It's growing back pretty quickly. I'm not really surprised. I've got a hairy genetic system, but the arms are fine. They're okay. The legs are incredibly itchy, incredibly itchy. So that's been brutal. But I think, like you, I think I'm going to continue to trim them up a little bit. I think I miss seeing the skin that's under these arms and these legs. It's nice to know that there is some sort of muscle definition somewhere on my body. So I'm going to stick with this for a little while longer, but the full shave takes way too long. I don't think I could do that too often.
You're a real humble guy, and I think it's great to just point out maybe some of the, I wouldn't call it a deficiency, but the differences and our unique things about ourselves. I really like that about you, Max. And,
yeah, that's the biggest one for sure. I look like the Jack Link's Yeti guy that's in all those commercials. That's me.
Well, we appreciate all the good news that you've given us from that time to laugh. I will say it's my go-to when I go to the grocery store. Now it's a weekly endeavor, and I'm there for about 2 hours. That Get a Grip podcast pretty much fills up the whole time, which I really like. But there's other good news out there. I'm assuming, being a big Office fan that you are, that you've been watching some good news by John Krasinski, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been watching. I watched a little bit of that. I've been mostly just watching Office reruns. I can't get enough of those. I ended up getting a PlayStation, so I've been playing video games for the first time since high school. All the TV. Thank goodness for The Last Dance and this Bulls documentary, because that has given me a lot of hope for some entertainment for a few weeks.
A lot of great entertainment and a good segue into basketball. Before we get there, I want to talk a little bit more about The Office because that's really my favorite episode, the basketball episode.
Yes.
Do you have another? Because I just love Michael Scott shooting from half court and missing it. Going, I don't know what's wrong with me today. It's Michael Scott to the T.
I don't know if I think about this a lot, and I've gotten this question. I don't know if I have a favorite episode. I will say that the basketball episode, or at least that one scene, is definitely in my top 5. I mean, Diversity Day is all time. My wife never watched The Office, or she watched it sparingly, and she's been slowly getting into it. So it's been very fun to go back to the beginning and watch them. She likes to watch things in chronological order. So we've been watching them in order, which has been really fun. But it's hard for me to just pick a scene. I will say that I think that The Office's finale episode was one of the best sitcom finales. It has everything in it. So they do a great job with that, or they did a great job with that show. I miss it, but it's one of those shows, like you said, and like I said, I could rewatch it all the time, and it still makes me laugh.
I think it's ironic that you and I don't work in an office, but we laugh at people working in an office.
Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought about that.
But I think it's because that's really not, well, I guess it's what goes on in an office, but while us watching, we laugh at it. We sympathize with Jim, and it looks like he's having a great time, even though he's miserable, but because we don't know what it's like, we like watching it.
It's like anything. It goes back to the community thing and to friendship. As much as he doesn't like it, as much as those characters don't like it, at the end of the day, they all like being around each other for the most part, enough to stick with a difficult job or, in that case, a difficult circumstance. So I think that's what it is. I think that's why people resonate with it. We all have a friend somewhat like Michael Scott who's a little eccentric and all over the place. We all have a friend who's more like a Jim who plays it cool. I don't know if anybody has a friend quite like Dwight, but he's something. And then, I just think that you can connect with all the characters, do such a good job. I do feel like, like you said, I've never worked in an office, but I feel like the dynamic isn't crazy different. Everyone thinks their boss is a little bit odd. Everyone thinks their coworkers are a little bit strange, and they all think they're the normal one. So, makes sense.
So Joe thinks you're pretty odd. I get it.
He probably definitely does.
You mentioned the Last Dance with MJ, and that has been a nice thing to watch. But talk a little bit more about basketball. I'm from Wisconsin, and I'm telling you, I am so excited that if we can get the NBA playoffs in, because this, I think, is the year for the Milwaukee Bucks. Do you know of anybody who could get in their way?
Yeah, I know one team. I think his name's King James, but I would be so happy if we could just see some basketball. This was a major tease of a season for me. I know you guys had a pretty good run for the Bucks, I guess. It would have been not a great Lakers season, but a pretty good run last year. But all jokes aside, I really wanted to see Giannis and LeBron hopefully go at it in the finals. Hopefully we get something, but I'm assuming we're going to get that, if not this year, next year. So would be good. It's been fun. It was fun watching the season with, the 5 or 6 top teams. So it's a bummer we missed out on that.
We'll see if they can figure something out. Sounds like one of your sponsors, MGM Grand, has kind of been in the mix of maybe hosting NBA Finals and having all the players there. We'll see what they can figure out, just like the PGA Tour is figuring out. Earlier this year, you played at the AT&T Pebble Beach with another one of my Wisconsin idols.
Yeah.
A guy, you're one of your went to your school as well, to Cal, Aaron Rodgers. What did you learn from Aaron?
A lot, man. I'm still learning. I've been very fortunate to become friends with him, and then getting to finally play some golf with him was pretty eye-opening. Getting to pick his brain a little bit. We still talk quite often. I consider him a pretty good friend now, and he's been very open to helping me with just the mental approach to sports, to life, honestly. So I've been very lucky. He's one of the smartest people I've ever been lucky enough to talk to, especially about sports. And watching him play football is remarkable. And when you get to talk to him about it, you get why he's so good. He's obviously got all the physical capabilities and then some, but he's got a big brain, man. And he can remember and think of so much stuff so quickly. So I've been trying to learn about being more, just a competitive, resilient, tough, and tough-minded athlete, and he is, like I said, one of the best at that. He's a very, very awesome role model.
He's probably learned from you too. I mean, it's well documented your year on the tour in 2017 where you made just 2 cuts on tour, and then you went to the Korn Ferry Tour, and a lot of people don't know that you had to birdie the last 4 holes in the last regular season event just to get into the finals, and then you got your tour card, and then you won. The mental struggles, you documented them very well, and said that during that 2017 season, you said to yourself, I've got to be the most mentally strong player on the PGA Tour. Is that something that you learned from somebody, or did you come up with that on your own out of necessity?
Probably more necessity. I've always been a pretty resilient person. I've learned it along the way, obviously, from my family, from my friends. I've had some unfortunate things happen to friends and family in the past where I learned their positive attitude is just so helpful. I always struggled with being very positive on the golf course. I still struggle like some, but I would say that I've always been pretty tough. So it hit me that when I was hitting the ball, maybe 2 courses away from the course I was supposed to be playing on, if I couldn't control where the golf ball was going, I better control what's going on inside my head a little bit better. I still get upset and I still get down at times, but I really did learn that, things shall pass. And if you can kind of stay in the present and not beat yourself up too bad, especially off the golf course, things will get rolling. It's difficult, but at the same time, there's a lot more difficult things or bigger things to be worried about than being able to hit a golf ball within the OB stakes. I fortunately figured that part out, and the mental stuff is kind of remained with me. So that's why I like to share my journey. I'm not embarrassed by it. It's not the greatest memories, but it made me who I am, and I would not be, as mentally, established as I am now without quite a bit of struggle like I went through. So that's a good thing. I don't think I wouldn't suggest that for people. That's not the path you really necessarily want to take.
We learned from those valleys, though, and what I really like about this next generation of golfers that you're part of, I've seen guys more willing to give us what they're thinking. Maybe it might even be a club change, this or that, versus my generation. It felt like we held our cards a little more close to our chest. We were like, personally, I didn't want to tell people I switched drivers immediately or something. And then they'd be sitting there watching me on Thursday. Wow, Mark just hit 4 fairways. Well, that was a good club change.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that about the next generation. I have a theory about why it's happened. Do you have a theory about why this generation is a little more forthcoming?
I'd like to hear your theory, because my theory is a little broken and misplaced here and there.
Well, my theory is really social media is a little more part of the PGA Tour and sports in general, and everyone kind of wants to show off their personality, and with that comes you get more inside the players, and you get to peel back some of those layers, and people want to be part of that social media thing, and to do that, you got to give a little more of yourself, and I think that's how the sports world, the fans have benefited from it. That's my theory.
Yeah, I was going to say something similar. I would say just more or less, or more so, we've grown up, this generation has grown up with a lot more access from the media. Players were already a little bit more forthcoming as we were growing up. So I think we're just used to it. I think that's how we see it should be done. I know people still hold, some cards close to their chest as far as strategy and things like that. But yeah, as far as the harmless, club changes and maybe some journey stories, definitely people are more outgoing about those. But I've heard some stories about people holding some things tight as far as how they're going to play a golf course and little things with how they hit golf shots. But yeah, I think you're right. I think as social media has made us a lot more open to sharing and much more used to sharing and just dealing with, whatever, backlash in the media or something as far as changing a driver might go. I think we just get used to that part.
We check our ego at the door. If we do that, I think then humility flows out and people get to understand us a little bit more. And last year, we got to touch on the Wells Fargo Championship. One positive about not being able to defend your title this week is you get to be a 2-year champion, basically. That's a really long run for defending champion. What kind of memories? I'm sure tons of memories flood back from your first win. Is there a common one that seems to always pop up when someone says 2019 Wells Fargo?
Yeah, I mean, just the walk up 18, I really can't explain how amazing it felt. You're in the moment so much for 71 holes, fighting off, maybe some demons, fighting off the best players in the world, fighting a golf course that is absolutely, daunting. And then you get to walk up the 18th hole knowing for 100% certainty, basically, that you won the golf tournament, that you overcame, for in my case, a lot of, not so great golf. And I get to do it with one of my best friends, caddying for me, Joe Griner. Hard to explain how fun that was. It felt in a weird way walking up like it was just me and him, and we're like in some weird movie. So that's the first thought, and then just the memories of the fans. It's always quite a lively crowd in Charlotte. I've always loved that about the event. People from Tuesday all the way to Sunday are come out and watch. Like I said, besides just the 18th hole walk up to the green, people were just so friendly all week. But yeah, I couldn't. I've wanted to win on the PGA Tour my whole life, like so many of us have. I didn't think I'd be lucky enough to do it with Joe. I'm very, very fortunate that we got to have that. I'm hoping we have some more, but nothing I don't think can top that first one, because that was a lot of hard work put in by both of us. I know how much he wanted it, and knew how much I wanted it, and how we had to both kind of overcome my struggles in a way. So it was cool to get that done, and yeah, we had a nice fun walk up on that 18th green.
That finish, the Green Mile, you have to be super confident playing 16, 17, 18, even those holes before. And then you had the rain delay. You had so much going on. There's always something. You handled it fantastic, and you parlayed it into some great play in 2020. How are you feeling about your game? What have you been doing during this quarantine to stay fit, both physically and golf-wise?
Yeah, well, been walking a lot on the golf course, which is kind of nice. It's usually not something I do when I'm home, because we walk so much, in a week-to-week basis. But I've been walking a lot, feeling not too sluggish. I definitely need to get off the couch a little more. Been riding that Peloton bike. Got my net and my mat set up behind me. I actually don't feel too bad about my game. I'm definitely a bit rusty, but I feel like I have a lot of things figured out. I don't think that I need quite as much maintenance and intense work to be done on anything. Just need, once we get closer to hopefully the start of the season again, I'll get back into it a little bit more. But for right now, I'm just trying to enjoy some time at home, play some golf instead of, banging balls too much. And yeah, then I can run in the backyard when I want to work on some swing stuff.
Speaking of the swing on Mark It Down Live, I always like to get my guests to give my viewers a tip. Something that's maybe worked for you more often than not. A lot of us have tendencies that we fall back to. Is there one swing thought that you go to more than others?
Yeah, I guess everyone's so unique. Mine, I always seem to have to work on it is getting wider in the transition. So getting, my arms away from my head and my body. And also, like, in the same way, getting the club to shallow or go under the plane. I've always been somebody who can cut it on command. I like to be able to draw the ball. Usually when I'm doing that, since I'll always have my fade, I feel very confident that I can hit both shots. So, I mean, my advice always is in the golf swing is, whatever your tendency is as far as the ball flight goes, whether it's a cut or a draw, work on just doing it the other way. Try and hit if you're a cutter like me, try to hit a draw and know that cut's probably never really going to leave you too much. And then you're going to find out, my coach and I call it getting closer to neutral. So if I'm hitting a big cut, try to hit a huge hook instead of trying to hit a straight ball and slowly work your way to the middle. So that's what we work on a lot. It's not too complicated. Obviously, anybody can do that. Anybody can get up there and just try to make the ball curve the way they want it to curve and figure out things while you're doing it. The golf swing's so complicated. Everybody's got their own little issues. But yeah, the end goal is just to make the ball fly like you want it to fly. So that's kind of be an athlete on the range and see, kind of see it in your head and then try to do it.
Being an athlete, such a key there. I think players tend to, especially amateur golfers, get a little robotic and trying to put it in positions when if you're just an athlete and reacting to a target, it certainly seems to work a whole lot better in the end. And Max Homa, I appreciate your time on Market Down Live today. A lot of great insights. You had us laughing. Stay safe there. I will say I'm pretty jealous. You're quarantining with your wife and dog, no kids.
No kids. That's another thing I should say that I'm very, very thankful for. I know how difficult that has been. We were talking about the homeschooling. That's a whole new avenue. I think it makes all of us appreciate teachers quite a bit more. I've been very lucky. My dog keeps us very busy. But yeah, the kids, my buddy's got a 3 and 5-year-old, and there's not a whole lot of sleep. There's a lot of playing. I don't have a whole lot going on here, so I'm gonna count my blessings there and say I've got the best end of this quarantine going.
It's pretty good. Well, enjoy some more Office episodes. Enjoy working on your game, and I look forward to seeing you on the PGA Tour. Everybody, you can catch Max Homa at MaxHoma23 on Twitter. Very witty, a lot of funny stuff. So follow Max. Once again, thanks for being on the show, Max.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for having me. This was fun.